the first time you interacted with Bitcoin. What was the year and what was the price?
It was 2015, and it was about $175 per Bitcoin. What this business does is it comes in waves, and I think that I have a prediction we're going to hit 180,000 in Bitcoin this year. We're at about 118 right now. I made that prediction when it was at 76 in April.
Hold, diamond hands.
And I'd done it last year. Last July, I said 100K by Christmas Day, and I was right. I'm not saying I've got a crystal ball, but...
Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, where I bring in the best and the brightest in the world of business, marketing, and personal growth to help you harness your inner tenacity and drive your career forward. Folks, we are in for a treat today. We are broadcasting live from the iHeartRadio studios in the middle of my city, my town, New York City. Nothing like it on the face of the earth. Big shout out to my man, Josh Carey. Thank you for bringing us in here. We have a special guest today, Chris Kline. He is the co-founder and CEO of Bitcoin IRA, the company that made history back in 2016 by launching the world's first platform, allowing investors to hold Bitcoin directly in their retirement accounts. Big difference here. Alongside his co-founders, Johannes Hayes and Camila Concha, Chris helped pioneer an entirely new financial category, but his vision didn't stop there. Did not stop at Bitcoin. And under his leadership, Bitcoin IRA expanded to include Ethereum, Classic, Ripple, and a bunch of others that you'll probably know we're going to get into, giving investors a diversified mix of digital assets with retirement portfolios. Groundbreaking here. And he's played a key role in building the company's secure, full-service experience, from designing the operational process to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. Wow, that's quite the intro. I don't remember doing all those things.
Well, it's interesting. In this AI world that we live in, I've done this thing where I don't just take the guest bio, but I put it through the system, through the pause filters. And some of the guests are like, could you just clip that for me and I could use it for future? I'm like, well, then I'm going to have to charge you for that one. But let's get into it. So Bitcoin, crypto, it's a whole new world. If your parents are still with us, or recently, how do you explain crypto to your parents? I'm 46 years old. How the heck can I even explain this world to my parents who are in their mid-70s and get them into this mindset that there's alternatives? I mean, I remember them going to credit cards, from paper checks to credit cards and everything. But how would you explain it to a 75-year-old Richard and Rosemary Posner?
Oof. Well, first I'd probably buy him dinner. just
have a seat, Mom.
Have a seat. Let's sit down. It's not something that you can necessarily do in an elevator pitch because you can kind of feel like one of those guys that's saying the end is near is part of the explanation. I grew up. I'm an '85 baby, so I just turned 40, and I've watched abundance. That's what we've driven since we took ourselves off of the Nixon shock. We've basically just printed money for the last 4 or 5 decades, and that doesn't work. Any student of history will tell you that someday that's going to break. And while it doesn't break yet, because relative to other currencies in the world, we're still strong, it's still all kind of a fugazi. We just keep making wealth by printing more money. And so that's kind of where I try to lay the setting down. And then I really try to explain the scarcity of Bitcoin in particular.
Compared to others, I mean, Bitcoin is actually scarce and it's limited. And it's not like your traditional country-based currency where it's backed by gold or some other economic stability, a physical asset like oil or something. So it's hard for the older folks to kind of relate to it, right?
Yep. Exactly. They're thinking, well, then some of them still think we have enough gold in Fort Knox for every dollar that's in circulation.
I don't think there's gold in Fort Knox anymore.
That may be true. and oil is a good reserve asset to have. But now the country itself, they've announced last year, and now they're underway with it. And they're actually making an announcement here in a few weeks of how is the reserve going along. Countries are making this a piece of their overall reserve portfolio. And so that's kind of, I really try to hammer home on the scarcity component, that this isn't something where a central authority can say, oh, we need more Bitcoin one day. There will only be 21 ever mined. The way that their mine gets harder and harder and harder, when it was 2009, all you did was use a laptop, right? Like it was simple.
Now it requires so much electricity.
Yes, power, absolutely.
I think that's a piece that people don't understand too. That, I mean, we could go down a rabbit hole of the negative environmental effects, but we'll keep it
we could do that with AI too, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, the greatest thing I hear about AI right now is stop saying please and thank you, because it's, A, you don't have to be polite to AI, and B, it's draining electricity because it's causing it to have an emotional response and add more
energy
and thought power to the process.
Yeah. Well, though, if they ever take over, if Terminator really happens, I want to be the guy that said thank you.
That is a great point, Chris. You want the machines to remember Chris Kline was good to us. We will not annihilate him.
Well, have you done this? I use ChatGPT pretty much probably on a daily basis
All
for
the time.
a lot of things. I don't use it as a Google search, but when I have like an interview or something, I'll do some prep with those things. Or if I got to go on a live television with Yahoo or Fox or CNBC, I'll prep some zingers for podcast Twitter Spaces, and then I'll also build out models and things like that with it. But try this out with yours. Once it gets to know you well enough, you can actually ask it, what do you think my greatest strength and my greatest weakness is?
I do it all the time.
It's very, very, it's pretty solid. It's almost creepy how good it is.
When I get to a fight with my wife, I just go right to GPT.
I haven't done anything personal yet.
Here's the deal, and I like talking about this for a moment here. My GPT is obviously trained for me, and I do a ton of podcast stuff, so it ingests all my content. It also ingests all the guest content, too. So what I like to do is, for example, prep for a show like this one here, where I need to learn about you and your background too. I want to ingest previous podcasts that you did. I want to try to get some interesting, unique questions out of it that maybe you haven't asked, especially if you're on a press junket or something, because I think that's what's content that's into it. But I am going to start off, because we got to lay a baseline here, to my audience who has not yet had the pleasure to meet you yet. I'm going to start with this one. The first time you interacted with Bitcoin, what was the year and what was the price?
It was 2015, and it was about $175 per Bitcoin.
Oi! Oh, for the love of God, take me back to those days over there.
I love this thing you see on Twitter is that everybody will buy Bitcoin at the price they deserve.
What does that mean?
It usually comes out
deserve?
Deserve. It usually comes out when somebody says some folks. I think it was I can't remember one of the pundits. It was yesterday. Natalie Brunell was on Twitter, and she goes, I was in New York, this fine city, and I met these nice finance people at dinner, and they found out that I was a Bitcoin person, and I heard every excuse in the book that I always thought I thought I was done hearing. Oh, it's a Ponzi scheme. Oh, there's no central authority around it. Oh, it takes too much energy. All these things, and somebody always puts it in the comments that everybody buys Bitcoin at the price they deserve, because they will buy at some point in time. It's just will they say, oh, it's not for me. It's not for me. It's usually Bitcoin's dead or Bitcoin's too expensive. Those are my favorite memes that I see out there. Is like the line for when it's at 150,000 is around the block, and the line at 76,000 is, oh, I'm glad I didn't buy that.
But, and I preach this too, especially right now. Even right now where are we? We're at
about 118, I think.
117.5.
Yeah, a little pullback today.
Right, a little pullback today. I don't think it's ever a bad price I've done my personal take on it too. Is I have my big stash, which is in my my wallet, right, my offline wallet. But dollar cost averaging, I think that's such a simple thing to do, and I'm very, very transparent about it. That I simply do in one of my simple Coinbase accounts. It's just $100 a week.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, Bitcoin is up almost 26% this calendar year. What other legal investment, is even going to get you that? Like a traditional IRA. What's a return on a traditional IRA?
Oh, if you're in the stocks, bonds, mutual funds, the regular indexes, maybe by the end of the year you're sitting around 5%. You're keeping up with inflation.
Right. But so going back to my parents, for example, what should they be scared? What do they think they're scared of, and what should they really be scared of when it comes to Bitcoin specific? And I put Ethereum in there too, because I like Ethereum. I play around with Ethereum, and I use it for when I was in my NFT days and everything. But Bitcoin specifically, what should the average Joe and Jane really be mindful of?
So you asked a great, what are they scared of, and what should they be scared of?
There's a clear
They're
line.
Scared of the unknown. And this is like in 1985, you're in Texas and they're at the Burger King, and the local news is showing how you can use credit cards for the first time at Burger King to buy your Whopper. And sure enough, all these
cashless Whopper.
Yeah, they're sitting here and they're going, I don't need those credit cards. That's plastic. I don't need that. I got cold hard cash in my pocket. And look at where we're now today, where you can't function without a credit card in today's economy.
You go to concert venues and it's cashless.
Yeah, everything's cashless. They actually have an ATM to take your cash and give you a card to use, which is mind-blowing to me. So that's the unknown.
Right, correct.
That's the unknown. What they should be afraid of, but they're not, is the known. We know what the dollar is. We know what our country's doing to print our way out of the crisis in 08-09, the stimulus checks that come out of thin air in 2001 and 2021, and how much we had to print to get through COVID and shut down our economy for years. that's the known that they should be worried about, because that's where, yes, okay, your mom and dad might have a couple $100,000 in their savings account. And to them, they don't realize that just because they log in and it still says 100,000, it doesn't mean that it's worth $100,000. It's that hidden tax, that invisible tax that's happening. That it's like putting a frog in boiling water. If you could take somebody from 1950s or 40s and drop them in hot water and see where we're at right now, or even just a founding father. We just did this great video for 4th of July. What would the founding fathers be doing about Bitcoin? I think they'd be rolling over their grave with what we've done with the treasury and with money overall. They'd be thrilled to see something new coming. And so you put that frog slowly warm it up, they'll boil to death. And that's what's happening for a lot of Americans, is they don't understand that inflation is cumulative. I think it's a big thing we miss in financial literacy. It's not a year. There's no etch-a-sketch that we shake.
Right, it doesn't stop on December 31st
and we get a
reset
fresh start
on the 1st of January.
No, it's my favorite I saw on X the other day was in a comparison to weight gain or loss. So it's this guy is like, hey man, I lost 5 pounds this year, but why don't I feel it? Well, because 3 years ago you gained 14 pounds. A year ago you gained 15 pounds, and then last year you gained 10 pounds. Now, congratulations, you lost 5 pounds this year, but you're still fat. That's kind of the reality. And so I think that's where people don't realize that the 3% is not 3% we start over. It's cumulative. So that's why even if the Trump administration and the current policies get inflation under control, you have to go deflationary to go backwards. And we're not going to do that.
Well, it's interesting, too, you say that, too, because Bitcoin specifically is global. It's decentralized, too. But a government, for example, you look at some of the South American countries, big buys or even like a BlackRock, big purchases, that could actually affect the swing of the market, right? Yeah. So it's not to say that it can't be affected, but the fact that it's decentralized spreads the risk and reward out over the entire globe versus a centralized United States that could print money and drive inflation or reduce inflation, right?
Exactly. And that's what's given the U.S. control, so that the OPEC is paying to the dollar as its reserve, and why BRICS is coming and really growing. It's been around for over 15 years, and now it's really starting to get some strength to it, because people are kind of tired of getting kicked around by somebody that's not making smart decisions either. It's like your degenerate gambling uncle tries to tell you how to build a savings account.
Exactly.
It doesn't quite make sense.
And thankfully, I got that degenerate out of me about 3 years ago with the NFTs and the crap coins, because we're on iHeartRadio here. We'll just call them the crap coins there. I think we could say that there. But I want to get into your story a little bit. When was that pivotal moment where you're like, I'm going all in, not just from a personal perspective on crypto and Bitcoin, but I'm going to shift the business in that direction because I see the light. I see the future is in this realm.
Well, let's go back just like 4 more years. Yeah, 3 or 4 years backwards.
Wayne's World Rewind.
Yes, the Wayne's World
I'm dating myself here now.
Oh, but that's such a good one. To 2009, 2010, I lived in Colorado. I graduated from the University of Colorado Boulder right at the worst time, basically right in the middle of the crisis. So I worked as I got into a startup, and it wasn't a business that was really going to get to a finish line of growth, but I learned from an amazing mentor about the backbone of business and those things. And then I went through a couple of personal traumas. My mom died of cancer when I was 23. And then I married my high school sweetheart out of college because I wanted to dance with my mom.
She's a gem, by the way.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. And I married her to dance with my mom on my wedding night. And you have limited time, right? I'm pulling on the ethos heartstrings here, but it's true. But then in your 20s you really figure out who you are, and marrying young is just dumb in my opinion. I mean, some people have success.
Wow, that was Chris.
Yeah, I know. So I'm divorced. My mom's just passed, and I'm making like $27,500 a year, and I'm like, I got to change something up here. Sitting in the basement with my roommate, that's my best friend since we were in diapers. He's headed off to pilot school to learn to be a pilot for private planes. And awesome guy, and he achieved that goal.
Did you have a nickname for him? Was like Goose and Maverick?
Wiggy was his
I
name.
thought we were gonna get something better on that
you're thinking
one.
like call names?
Yeah,
oh no, I need to give him one.
On that one?
I need to give him one of those.
You're gonna hit the Wayback Machine and give him a call name. We'll call back the callback later on in the show
and get a good name. Yeah. Get a good name for him. But he's headed off, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I'm throwing darts at this map that we had, and I was hitting New York, great city. I was terrified of it. I'm a Colorado kid. It's a big city.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Yeah, and then I'm hitting San Francisco, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to end up on one of the coasts here, because back then, pre-COVID, MSAs meant you could make more. Bigger market, you could make more money. So I ended up by taking I choose to go to San Francisco, and I sell.
Back then, that's a good call.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would
Not
have
now,
gotten.
but-
Yeah, right. It's totally changed.
Great city, love you guys, but
Yeah, it's not the same.
not to say that New York isn't the slum central of the world, but we'll get to that later.
So I'm sitting there. I sell all my worldly possessions. I get about $3,500 into my pocket, and I get a one-way ticket, and I narrow myself down to one suitcase. And I said, well, you know what? I have no plan. I've got a couple job offers. I'm just going to figure this out and just run with it. So I go out. I fly first to Los Angeles because I had some friends there, and I was going to spend the holidays with them after Christmas to New Year's. And in that time period, I serendipitously met Camilo and Johannes. I had a dinner, and they were working in an office that some of my friends were working in, and they said, and they've sat down like this with me, and it started as a 15-minute conversation, turned into like an 8-hour interview in their offices. I met everybody,
works.
and they said, you shouldn't go to San Francisco. And I was like, oh, well, I'm open to that. And I was like, what do you guys
suggest?
Yeah. And so they were working in marketing for self-directed IRAs, some precious metals, some real estate, et cetera. And they're like, we really want to not just be the marketers of this business. We want to build this business and do it better than the rest. So then I get excited about it, but I've got $3,000 to my name, no real job. And so I actually moved in, and this is a true story. We're in Sherman Oaks, California on the 101-405 interchange. And I moved into there's like Motel 8, Motel 6.
Motel 4.
-2 is where I moved into.
We're just completely, we're going under the radar.
It was rough. And
rented by the minute.
I think there was hourly rates for sure. So I lived there for the first 9 months building the first business because I didn't know.
A great founder story. It seems so
could it fall
cliche.
apart? Didn't want to have roots to like if I needed to move on, and nobody knew. It was a secret. Didn't tell anybody. In fact, my wife's who's here with us today. You met her. She's down on the street talking to people about Bitcoin with our press guy, and she met me when I was living in that motel, and we went on a date.
So the bar was already low.
Oh, it was very low.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. There's only upwards from here, just like
she
Bitcoin.
met me, we go on a date, and I had her drop me off at the fancy Marriott down the street. Wait to watch her drive away, and then walked back to my -2 motel.
Pro move.
Yeah,
Pro
well, you
move,
could. I mean, if
Chris.
she saw where she was really dropping me off, I don't know if she'd be here today.
Might be arrested.
Yeah. So, and there were some tough times. You're growing a business, and we had some success in some of the other alternatives, but was really we hit a point where we wanted to get accelerated growth. And the only way to do that in today's economy is you got to do something that nobody's ever done before. You
Is
really
there still stuff left to do?
I think in AI, I think in some of the
Well,
digital assets
we're in the
space-
first inning. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the first, and I think we're still in early innings with crypto too. I know that you're kind of more of a maxi like me and believe that Bitcoin's. I think it's the king of the space, but there are projects that are going to change the world. Smart contracts and Ethereum will change the world in other ways. It's not just an investment vehicle; it's a technology.
I
vehicle.
almost think. Pause for a second. I almost think going back to your analogy before. I think the Bitcoin is the founding father of crypto.
Yeah, it's the founding father.
And it blows my mind when I start to think about the future. Like I'm sure you do. Is like, oh my God, how are we going to start to incorporate more of this AI technology? And yes, we could get into the technical element of AI trading and all that and the arbitraging, but that's not really what we're going to go down to. But you saw what was there that aha moment when you're like the light bulb went off and you saw the future in crypto?
When I read the halving component of the white paper, that's what got me, because I was just like, this is the exact opposite of what we're doing. When something goes wrong, we print more. This system is designed to literally take away from the producer. We're at the next halving cycle will almost be less than 1 Bitcoin that miners are competing for, while it's getting harder and harder to produce it. I mean, you and I will not live to see the last Bitcoin be mined. No. And I think that's fabulous. We've been living this world where we're on the left side of the decimal point. We just keep adding zeros and zeros and zeros until now the Wall Street, I was reading in The Economist on my flight here, is looking for the unicorn is now, it used to be $1 billion, now it's $1 trillion offering. That's because we're just injecting money into the world. It's not because these companies are getting more valuable.
No, not at all.
It's that, and we're going to live on the right side of the decimal point in the future.
When
Satoshi.
Satoshi, we could have a whole other hour on. Do you think he's a real dude?
I don't know.
Okay, so,
My favorite theory is that it was Alan Greenspan. That's what people
Ooh,
said.
I like that
was somebody who said that. I didn't believe it, but I was like, that's unique, or is it a group of people? It's, who knows? And the wallet still, there's Satoshi era wallets that are starting to move. I think somebody just sold off some for like $9 or $10 billion. Congratulations to them.
Yeah.
It's not us. You can't get upset. We weren't there. We didn't do it.
Right time, right place, right mindset.
Yeah, eventually people are starting to move things around.
You said something that really triggered me in a good way, which is the word legacy. I'm a big believer. There's 2 words that mean a lot to me. One is tenacity, one is legacy. When I was reading your bio, tenacity is something that's in your DNA and it gets triggered at the right time.
Yeah.
To really be that impetus for action. But when I think also, so when I two things. One, when I look at my little ledger, I think about my kids. I know what's on there.
Yep.
I know what the value is. I don't touch it. It's my safety net. I know it's for them. And I have traditional forced savings. I have my whole life. I have my term life. I have a traditional 401k and all that kind of stuff too. But I think about what I'm going to leave for them. And the times have changed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'll leave my house. I'll leave them like the physical asset property. But you talk a lot about this looming retirement and the currency crisis in America, and the boomers are aging. And here's just a little fun fact. Both my parents, New York City Board of Education teachers. I think, 10 years ago, I made more than my dad ever made in his entire life. But somehow now in retirement, they're that last generation where a pension meant something.
Yeah.
And there was value to that. We don't have it now. So you think about other alternative investment vehicles, safe ones, like your traditional safe IRA. How do we steer this conversation in this realm and light of the retirement crisis?
Yeah, agreed. And it's really, I've been watching it since I was a kid because my dad was a contractor, built homes, went through the crisis, almost basically destroyed his business. Hardly anybody survived then. My mom, before she passed, was a banker, mortgages. She was at GMAC, and then she was a loan officer, both industries. And they're some of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. And the deck was stacked up against him in this economy. Whether they chose tied together. You probably should have polar opposite careers than your wife's. Hedge in those ways.
Well, I'll tell you, my wife's an attorney, and I do whatever we call this.
She's hedging with you.
Well, she's my sugar mama. She knows that.
I love that. I love that. So
I'm proud of it.
So that's one generation. Our grandparents, if they live late, if they make it, some of them, especially if is your money going to outlast you, or are you going to outlast your money? Is a big
question. You can't
be
buried with it.
Yeah, and you can't take it with you. When it comes to surviving through retirement is where we're at. It was $500,000 a few years ago that people said they needed to live comfortably.
Oh, we need to double that.
It's actually 1.8 now.
Oh man, we're going to 4 or 5x.
And that's in 5 years. Where are we going to be in five more? Because again, we just keep printing money, putting it in the system. That's why when people say, "Oh, my house went from 400,000 to 800,000," price things in terms of Bitcoin, and you get a really different picture.
That's a fair point too. And also, you have to consider you pulling equity from it, but.
Yeah,
we digress.
Yeah, and so if you any of those things, if you price anything in Bitcoin, it really opens. So
give us a real world example. For a house,
for a house. So if a house, and the median house in America is right now is like 410, I think, and that's not counting New York. I think they pull the whiskers out.
We're just going to take that one out. Long Island.
Just take those two out. Yeah. So, but 410,000, call it 400,000. That's 4 Bitcoin today. That was 12 Bitcoin when I started this company. And so that just shows you that you're going to get more for less Bitcoin as we continue to inject more monetary supply here. And that road's not finishing anytime soon. So, but you asked a good question. How do we tie this back to retirements? Right? So why am I here? Why is my name of my company Bitcoin IRA? If you're betting on crypto, first, if you're not using an IRA, kudos to you. But if you're listening and you don't have any IRA, get one. This is a tool the government gave us to save on taxes. And if you don't use if you don't use the tools that they give you, then you only have yourself to blame.
It's your fault if you're not taking full advantage.
And even if you don't do Bitcoin, you can do a traditional, a Roth. There's SEP and Simples out there for certain
Forced savings is the smart move.
Huge, and it locks it up so that you don't go run to take it out just because you have an emergency. Emergency funds is okay, but 50% of Americans are one paycheck away from emergency taking them to.
It's a scary point right now.
Homelessness or I know
you're supposed to have like 6 months of savings. That's long gone.
Yeah, no, that's the big chunk of Americans today, but then you have to look at what the retirement tools are for you, and especially with the Roth. The Roth gives you the ability to not only buy and sell and trade your retirement tax free without cap gains or implications, short or long term. But then when you reach the age of retirement, past 59 and a half, you take out all the money that you put aside. Tax free. You can take it out. If $5,000 turns into $5 million, there are 0 taxes on any of that as you take it out. Greatest tool you can use.
Hey everybody, Adam here from the Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by the team at Fountain. Fountain is your full-service frontline workforce management platform. I have to tell you, Fountain's offerings are some of the most robust I've seen for any product in the space. They offer full solutions for hiring, managing, and retention. They are truly a one-stop shop focused on the frontline workforce. They also create informative content using their data. For example, they analyze a bunch of data from their fast food chains and created a trend report you could download now on their website. They also have a new ebook out called Frontline Voices. There's a lot to dive into. Certainly check it out. And you could learn more at fountain.com, linked in the show notes. Thank you. So What's your general approach to taking winnings in crypto?
DCA in, DCA out.
For anyone out there who does not know what that means, break it down for my mom and dad.
Dollar cost average in, dollar cost average out.
If I put in 100, I'm taking out 100
you
winnings.
should reverse it, yeah. So because it takes the emotion out of it. So
Then you're basically even from if you took it out to the original investment, it's still in the green. You're still in the plus.
Exactly.
That's one way to think about it.
And you're not, because also what'll happen is, say you did your buildup of $100, and your 5,000 is now say $200,000. You sell it all one day. And then Bitcoin doubles in 6 months.
And you punch yourself in the head.
Exactly. So if you and it doesn't have to be the exact amount,
No.
because now you can't. If you do $100 at a time on the way in, and the asset triples, to do $100 on the way out is going to take 3 times as long, right?
And aren't you getting taxed too if you're just pulling from your Coinbase or your Ledger?
If you're doing it outside of, yeah, exactly. So you want to build some strategy around that, and try your best to avoid short term, and talk to your tax advisor, but try your best to. If you have an asset or holdings for longer than 12 months, then at least you go from the 25% down to the 15% in the long term capital gains.
Chris, what was the biggest hurdle when you launched the IRA, the Bitcoin IRA, from a hesitation standpoint to get people to adopt and accept it?
So early adopters were actually more enthusiastic than me. So the early adopters were very libertarian, and they were what I call my engine nerds. They're former,
they're techies,
former NASA scientists,
or futurists,
Intel, IBM guys, or
they see
guys
the future,
and gals.
they project the future, they have a vision.
Yep, they were on that cutting edge. They enjoyed it. So they were, when they found out, and we would do like a press release, and then there'd be a lot of Reddits. And this was very like grassroots growth at the very beginning, which was fun. It was exciting because you're just getting the feel for how are people finding us. And what do they want out of us? What more do they want? More can we offer them? When we first started that first year, we were like old school. If you think of like Wolf of Wall Street or the original Wall Street, where they're doing phone trades, because we didn't have any of the technology, but we didn't know if we needed the technology. Because a lot of companies, and you'll hear this from founders all the time, they'll go spend $10 million building a product, and they don't even know if the market wants it. And by the time they finish it, it may be obsolete or behind.
Market fit should be the first checkbox.
Exactly.
Even if it's not fully baked yet, at least having those key indicators and being able to see the signals through the noise.
Yep. And we had that great first year of 17. 16 was a development year. 15 was a development year. 16, halfway through, we launched. 17, we were right place, right time, right product. It went from $1,000 to $20,000 in a year. I mean, you couldn't miss. When we launched Ethereum IRA inside the program, why we're Bitcoin IRAs, because there was no other coins when we launched. We're OG like that. But now we have 80 different cryptocurrencies available. But when we launched Ethereum, it was $40. You asked earlier, what was the unit price? It was $40.
Jeez.
But it went, in that first month, it went from 40 to 400. And now since I think we're going to break 4,000 here this
37
month.
Today, something close to
just
that?
38, I think. It dipped a little bit. But it was 1,200 in April. I bought some.
I went back in at 15.
Yeah, 15. I do.
And I'm happy. I'm very happy with that.
I got really lucky. I was coming back from another press junket like this from New York. I went New York, Atlanta, then back home to Scottsdale, and I couldn't sleep because like you travel enough, and like so I'm
You're
sitting
in the time
there.
warp, baby.
It's April 6th. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, I can't sleep. I'm watching. I don't remember what show I was watching, catching up on some shows, I'm binging a little Netflix, and I'm looking, and I just decided to open. I'm like, oh. It got down to like 1250, 1275, and I was like, oh, I got to get some more of this stuff.
But that's the right mindset, though, because other people will be scared and be like, I'm out.
Yeah, there's panic sellers. Yeah, there's panic sellers, and you're buying for those. So I don't necessarily DCA as religiously as you do, where I just set the number, set it, forget it, because I live this. So I mean, I check Bitcoin's price before I check my pulse in the morning.
It's literally the first thing. It's the first I was showing you. It's literally the first, like you. It's the first thing on my screen when I wake up before I kiss my wife in the morning. I'm like, oh,
hey, that looks pretty good, right?
Hey, baby, I'm in a good mood. You in a good mood today?
Well, but you got to be careful of that because it does start to mess with your moods. If
I've seen it early on when I first started to that. That's a very fair point, and you need this is important for everyone out there. You have to keep even keel and know that this is a marathon and not a sprint.
Yeah, keep yourself calm, cool, collective. Know it's a marathon, and that's why you DCA, because it takes the emotions out of it on the way in and out. Because also, if you sell off your whole stash in one day and then watch the markets jump, you're gonna be kicking
well, that's the
yourself.
scary part too. So we have a few minutes here, and there's definitely a few things I want to talk to, and I could talk to you for hours here. But I want to talk about.
You can always have me come back.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it on the remote pods here. But the big piece too that people had to get over to is security. You can talk about this concept of the Pentagon of custody. Yeah. And when I talk to retail, folks like myself too, I have my offline. I say own your keys, own your wallet. Right? Yeah. It's offline. You cannot get into my. I should be careful when I say that. Right, but that's why I keep my Coinbase so I could be active and do smaller transactions that I want to maybe bet a little bit bigger on, or maybe
Yep.
mess with other coins, and also have more accessibility to it. But I also know when it's in my ledger that I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah.
Because it's effort. Because then I have to move it here and move it there. Talk to us a little about this concept through your Pentagon of custody approach.
Absolutely. Well, let me explain it. I'll explain
Please.
really quickly. The Pentagon it's named after the DC building. Is that it's actually designed that the Joint Chiefs and the big guys are at the center of it. They're 5 rings in. They're at the E level, or I don't know if it goes EA or AE, but they're at the interior. That's where they put the most important folks, because if there was ever an invasion or attack, you have to get through the rings to get to them. So that's how we designed our security solutions. So to show you some of those rings, let me ask you a couple questions. You have your hold your own keys, not my keys, not my crypto, and I have a ledger as well. But I've moved most of it over to our platform.
Well, I hope you would.
Because if
Hope you eat your own dog
something
food,
happened
Chris.
to if something happened to you on your next plane trip or something, doesn't happen. Does your wife know how to use the ledger?
I'll leave it at this. She knows where the keys are.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Does she know how to know? But she does know who to talk to in our friend group that would help her know how to unlock the door.
Okay, that's a better answer than most people have when I ask that question.
I've had this conversation. I will remind her, and then there's some other secrets I'll just keep off the air.
Absolutely. And there is.
Wait, quick question.
Yeah.
Do you have it on the copper or the metal? Your passcodes, like on the hard piece of metal?
I do have on my seed, my seed phrase. Yeah. I have it that, and then I also do you geographically disperse it.
I should give one to my parents, even though they wouldn't know how to use it. But I feel it's safe there.
Yeah.
Even my dad would probably post it on Instagram. Like, look at my
Look at
son
what my
gave me.
son
Look
gave
at
me.
this.
Yeah,
look at this
exactly.
gold chain he gave me. This bullion with all these words on it. It must just mean something. No, Dad. What are you doing? Put that away.
So what we were trying to build was, first, the IRS doesn't allow you to hold custody. So you've got an asset class that, in order to get all that tax benefit we're talking about, it's got to sit in a custody solution. So we had to build something that you couldn't do with the keys yourself. So what
that
we built
takes away some of the tax implications.
outside,
'cause
if
it's
you go
under
outside,
IRA now,
because
right?
now
Okay.
you have the indicia of ownership of it. And now it's yours. So now, just like your exchange, a couple other layers there is obviously the beneficiary component. But for like just happened in New York, they put that guy, they held him ransom for like 2 weeks.
That story was out. They held him upside down outside the window, and it wasn't until he escaped in a bathrobe. Crazy for any New Yorkers who saw that story. And I think he ran down a traffic cop or something. Crazy story.
Yeah, but that's the extreme of you are your weakest link when it comes to security. So whether you're the guy that's getting hung by his toenails and a gun to his head that says, "Give me your keys," or you accidentally clicked on something that you shouldn't have clicked on, or a Wi-Fi you shouldn't have, and you get SIM swapped or you get emails. So all these things are designed inside of our Pentagon of custody as layers of protection against yourself, against bad actors, etc. And it allows us to be insured for up to over $250 million.
But you're not like FDIC insured. You're privately insured?
It's privately insured, yeah, for our wallet.
Up to $250.
Up to $250 million per wallet.
$250 million per wallet.
And we never let a wallet go anywhere near those numbers. You spread it out.
It's church and state there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fascinating, because especially when you're talking to older folks where security is a real concern, or they're not, crypto savvy or native too. That's a hurdle for them to get to.
Yep.
To get past there. What is a core fundamental benefit for someone like me, 46 years old, thinking about the future, why I should move either cash assets or any of my, Bitcoin into an IRA?
So key is you're getting the tax advantage of it. So whether you do a traditional or Roth, you're going to lower your tax bill this year, or you're going to drastically lower your tax bill over time, or at your point of retirement. The second is, it's pretty obvious that this administration, and probably others to come, are telling us as Americans, if you read in between the lines, they're telling you to bet on Bitcoin and bet on gold. They're putting a lot of their time behind it, because I think they're seeing the reality behind the scenes that the rooster's coming home on the dollar at some point, and it might be pretty soon. So you're hedging yourself. You're getting a tax advantage. You're hedging yourself against dollar or fiat currency crises that are coming. And to me, I mean, it's a way that you're locking up that savings that you won't touch. And like you said, that legacy word is leaving that. My daughter actually has a Roth IRA. So, and you should think about that for your kids.
You could open them up at any age, right?
As long as they've earned income. So like she
I'm
works
put them on the payroll.
Yeah, put them on the payroll, and to have that piece of the payroll go straight to their Roth IRA, because they can actually take it out for higher education expenses and first-time home buying expenses without penalty.
I did not know that.
Yep. So a few little additions there
today
with the Roth.
Do you have any gold?
I do. I hold gold, and we actually have gold on the
Do you
platform.
have physical gold?
I have physical gold in my life, and silver, not on me right now.
Well, I'm going to shake them down. We're in New York City over there. Don't be careful when you walk on the streets with that one, Chris.
No, but we have physical gold on the platform. You can trade your Bitcoin. Say you're DCAing, you can DCA into gold if you want to.
Is gold still a good investment?
I think that it's going to be around for forever. I think
So the founding fathers are like,
the founding
cool.
fathers like it. They're fans of it. They actually wrote it into the
Jeff
Constitution.
is like, cool, gold.
Yeah, actually, when we went off the gold standard, Nixon slapped the founding fathers in the face because it's in the Constitution that we should never issue any money that is not based or locked by gold or
Keep me straight here. Silver's still a good buy too.
Great. Yeah, I mean,
People don't talk about second in command, silver.
Silver's solid, and it's very useful, not just in industry, but if something really crazy happens. Again, I'm not a doomsdayer, but it wouldn't be bad to be able to have some silver coins to use for barter and trade.
It's interesting. God bless my brother-in-law who passed last year. He bestowed to me. He started talking to me about silver and talking about going online and buying authenticated just silver coin, like just putting it away. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? And I started to look into it a bit more. And I'm like, God forbid we go off the grid. God forbid we go off the grid and you need something to barter. And I'm a huge fan of bartering. I barter everything. I got free steaks and socks, and you should see what I get from doing the show. But when you talk about silver, I feel my biggest fear is the electric grid going down because it's so susceptible, and that affects crypto and Bitcoin. So having something in the reserve.
There are groups working on solutions for that right now.
Like what?
So
in what realm?
There are obviously the internet goes down, but they'll still need a generator to charge your phone. But they are working on peer-to-peer transactions that don't require the internet to validate. So they're off-chain.
Bluetooth or
Bluetooth to Bluetooth
AirDrop,
is what they were. And Dorsey, I think, from the Twitter days, is the
Jack.
one that's Jack's working on this.
Jack's
right
a
now.
smart guy.
And
Jack.
And that'll evolve again and again. Web 4, Web 5. So there are ways around that. But yes, it scares me too. The grid, EMTs, those types of things. Again, diversification. In my safe, there's a chunk of cash. There's gold and silver.
And where do you keep the safe in your house?
Ledger. Nowhere where I would tell you. But my wife knows where it's at.
So that's important too. So I want to get back to the root of the show here. You know, the podcast, we talk a lot about career journeys. We talk a lot about building teams. In the 10 plus years with this company, you know, you've had to build it up too. But let's talk about your approach to building teams here. You have a robust team. When someone gets to you, I'm assuming the resume is there. They have the hard skills. But how do you assess, do they have those soft skills from a culture perspective? We're not going to use the F word fit because I don't believe in culture fit. But how do you know they're going to be a value add to the team? Chris, what is that kind of line of questioning and conversation that you want to get to when you're interviewing someone to assess if they're going to be a value add to Bitcoin IRA team?
Ooh, that's hard to do in an interview.
What do you mean?
You can ask people those questions and they can be prepared and they can give you the BS answer. I don't know. That's tough. You
take them out to dinner or something?
Well, yeah, you definitely try to put them with the team, which is hard in remote settings. So we try to do, instead of I hear groups that do like 8 or 9 interview sets. We'll do shadowing, remote shadowing for an hour or so, not a full day, but just an hour to see how it goes. Step into a few meetings to see what they think, because some people don't feel comfortable with the culture you have at play too. Like it's high energy. Are they not high energy?
Are they able to jump right into the fire? Are they ready? Is this? And I think it's also very important for any employer to set a clear expectation. We see this all the time. Not every company has the ability to on-ramp and onboard and give someone what they think is a time, because that's not the way the mode the company is in at that moment.
Yep.
We're in hyper-growth mode. This is jump into the fire. This is sink or swim. We're going to give you the best possible tools to use, but I need you to step up and take ownership of the onboarding experience yourself too, and also create an environment where it's safe to ask questions.
Yeah. Well, early years, I kid you not, with 17, when it was going crazy and we were doing everything, phone trades and all that, it was, if they came in and they had a pulse and they showed up to Denver on time, I tossed them on the phones just to see if they would survive. And if they came back after lunch, then I would do some additional onboarding with them. And that, my HR guys probably, my whole team's just cringing right now.
So the smoke coming out of his ears.
Yeah, I know. It's like, you did what? But now, once you grow enough, you can build out that infrastructure to support you.
Does someone have to believe in Bitcoin to be on your team?
No, but most end up believing.
The converters.
Yeah, they do. Definitely converters. No, you don't have to be a believer.
Right. If you have an engineer on your team, they're not. It's not cult over there. Are you quick to fire?
That's the biggest thing that Camille and I have a saying that we never have a regret.
Hire slow, fire quick.
Yeah, we never have a regret of firing somebody. We just wish we had done it sooner, because it's the writing's on the wall. You'll have, one of my big things is if somebody puts in notice or something and you save them because you give them their foot's already out the door. The likelihood is within 90 days they're gone anyways.
Right. Once they show those key indicators.
It's not like, as a young entrepreneur, it used to give me all this anxiety. I remember the first time I had to fire somebody, I cried in the shower for hours.
It's emotional. You're ruining somebody's life in that moment.
Yeah, it's hard.
They'll be okay afterwards because at the end of the day, you're doing something good for them, but they don't realize that
in the moment.
in them. I've been through it.
And you see a lot of emotions from them, but you also get them for yourself because I don't mind firing people. What I hate having happen is layoffs. If I don't manage the business appropriately,
that's on you.
And that's on me. And that's a really tough pill to swallow. And I've fortunately avoided that for my career, other than a couple of the winter markets. But that was because we just grew so big, and then the market like that. But I take that personally. But firing somebody, no. I mean, actually, you get to a point as an entrepreneur where it's kind of relieving. You're like, okay, now that its era is done, they can move on with their life, we can move on with ours, and we can get to the next evolution apart from each other. But early years, man, and I think a lot of young entrepreneurs go through that, is that because you want everybody to love you. That's
to get over that part. People are going to hate you.
Yeah, no, leadership is respect. It's about respect and admiration, not about love.
What has been that biggest lesson learned for you as a leader that you really had to, have that breakthrough when you got to the next level of leadership? You
got to step away. One of the biggest challenges is, can I disappear for a week vacation and turn off my phone? And if you can really do that, then the business doesn't own you. That's when you get to the next evolution. Like this week, I am hands off. I'm only here to meet with awesome folks like you and enjoy. I'm going to a Yankees game tonight. I see you have a Mets hat on, so I don't know how you feel about that. But I've never been to the house that Ruth built.
The house that Cement built.
Yes.
Bitter.
But okay, on the next trip, when you and
I'd love to take you to a game to Citi Field. Complete different culinary experience. You'll probably they take cashless
culinary experience.
Oh my God,
food's better.
I will give you a food tour. But let's be very clear. Yankee Stadium does have fantastic food. New York City, man. All right, crystal ball is out here. What's next on the horizon for Bitcoin IRA as a company?
Well, I think that what's going to happen is probably a strategic partnership with one of the banks that are now smelling around in the crypto space, saying, for years, big banks have said Bitcoin is there, but we don't have to do anything about it. In the last 6 months, with the legislation that's happening, the clarity from these bills, and they know their other competitors are stepping in, they either have to go build something or they have to merge or strategically partner with something. And I think that's where we're going to probably join up with a bank that sees the future with us. You got mortgages, you've got credit cards, you got all these fundamental traditional finance tools that crypto could work perfectly with them. Wouldn't you love to get an interest on your bank account in crypto?
I would
love.
I would love
Bitcoin?
to figure out how to. My mortgage. The best investment I have is my house and my mortgage. We refinanced right before COVID at 2.7. It's basically free money in my mind.
Yeah.
How could I change the paradigm and the dynamic there, where I'm even reducing it more or paying it off quicker? With crypto, how can I take the earnings from crypto and use it to pay the principal?
And these are the tools that are coming to
that gets me excited.
Yep.
And when you have that, you please email me and call me and tell me we're on the verge.
I'll release it on this show. How's that sound when I figure it out?
You just heard that right over there. So let's bring it home. Let's bring it home. This is what we do on the podcast here. Chris, what's keeping you up at night these days?
I mean,
work-wise.
Just keeping up. What this business does is it comes in waves, and I think that I have a prediction we're going to hit 180,000 in Bitcoin this year. We're at about 118 right now. I made that prediction when it was at 76 in April.
Hold diamond hands.
And I'd done it last year. Last July, I said 100K by Christmas Day, and I was right. I'm not saying I've got a crystal ball, but I think that when that happens, there's this tidal wave of retail that comes. And I hate not being able to service or be able to be there for everybody, because the line, it's like saying fire in a theater. The exits get crowded, right? Everybody's running towards it, and I just want to be able to. So that's just being ready for that. And you're never ready. It's like you're not ready for a tsunami, but you can do the best you can.
No, and I absolutely love that energy. And last but not least, even at the ripe old age of 40, I can't believe I'm the old man in the room now. I'm finally the old man status here. Everyone defines success differently at different stages of your life. You've been through the ups, you've been through the downs. Right now, I think you're doing pretty well over here, and you're building something quite impressive that is going to help people. This is legitimate. This is backed. This is secure. This is not a grift. This is to help build wealth, future, and legacy. When you think about the concept of success at this stage, Chris Kline, how do you define success?
Free time. I think I have an 11-year-old daughter, and I missed a lot. I don't want to well up a little bit, but you miss the first steps, you miss the first words, because I was in an office grinding it 7 days a week, 12, 15-hour days, being at home, because we're now post-COVID, we've stayed remote with our employees, and it's great having her around, but I feel like I miss some of those really fun. I've got a great relationship with my daughter, but now to be able to have that free time, where it's not just being there, and
presence.
You're a dad, there's physical presence, and then there's mental presence. And I lacked a lot of mental presence for the years, and now I know how to turn it off, and that to me is success. To be able to take and, like, for example, the Thursday, my wife's here with me in New York. I'm shutting off, and we're just going to be tourists for the day.
I'll give you some pro tips later.
Absolutely, I'd love that.
I love that definition, and I could tell you, someone who's went through this myself, that there's no better time than now. You can't go back in the past. You can't make up for that lost time. And we'll share this a little bit later. I've been going through my own journey right now, a health journey and everything, and the silver lining there is really presence. And I said, you know what? Better now than never, right? And I'm so much more present with my kids and my wife and just taking in the moments that really matter. And I think for me, that's what success is. So when I ask this question a lot, when I hear the word money, I cringe.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's really about time. Time is your most valuable asset. It's your most limited asset.
It's the scarcest thing we've got.
So, Chris, I love this conversation. I definitely want to have part 2 later this year. This has been fantastic. Big shout out to Josh and the entire team over here at iHeart. Everyone, please check out BitcoinIRA.com. Connect with Chris on X. Are you on Blue Sky? What else?
I'm at Senator Kline because I thought I was going to be a senator in college. So I'm at Senator Kline on X. Big following on LinkedIn, at Kline CD on IG. And by the way, something cool about our platform, you can actually, we have what's called Real Crypto, Real People. So you can actually call a phone number, and I challenge your users, if they're interested, to be on the phone within 90 seconds with a real human being.
Not an AI bot.
Not a real human being that's been doing this, most of them for about a decade, helped thousands of people get their retirements in order, because retirement is not a one-size-fits-all strategy. Everybody's got a different needs and different wants through it, so we help guide 3 people through it. And you can call, and I've memorized it, you can call 877-936-7175 and talk to somebody today, or you can just go to bitcoinira.com. But here's the cool part. If you mention that you're from the Pausecast,
that's right,
you can get rewarded up to $1,000 in our Summer of Freedom promotion that we're running right now.
And don't miss that. And don't worry, we're going to link that up in the show notes here. Chris Kline, I want to thank you so much for joining me here on the podcast. And everyone listening at home, remember, a review, rating goes a long way. Sharing means caring. You know where to find out more at thepodcast.com. Trying to pump up the YouTube / the podcast. Follow us on Instagram at NHP Talent. Remember, be good to yourself, be better to others, and catch us next week for another great episode of the podcast. Take care, everybody.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the Pausecast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepausecast.com.